Good morning. My name is Elizabeth de Vries, and I'm an astrological mystic. I use astrology in a deeply spiritual way to uh, ascertain the exact soul challenges and soul gifts within a chart. Why do we choose the mother and father we did? Why do we choose to come in at this time? What is our major soul aspiration? What are we leaning towards? What do we need to step back from that we fell into in similar cycles in other lifetimes? So today, it's my great joy to do a reading on Kamala Harris. Now, in 1920, in March, when I did my video on Joe Biden, he had not received any ballots yet to be showing that he would even lead the Democratic Party. And I did a video then, which I posted the other day, in which I showed that not only would he win the nomination, but that he would choose a female of great vitality and great power, and that he would only serve one term, and then he would step down, and this person would have more youth, more vitality, more pizzazz, and she would carry forward to the next level. What they told me at that time, which I recorded, was that Joe would come in as the consummate healer after a horrific presidency under Donald Trump, when people's nerves were frayed and people were feeling kind of at the end of their rope, didn't know where the country was going. He would come in and give that kind of statesman-like stability and sense of safety to the country, and literally did some absolutely remarkable things, which I shall look at in another video. But the most important thing from our perspective today is that he chose a vice president that he knew could step into a position of power on day one. Knowing his age, if something happened to him, it was vital to his personality that he choose somebody that he could co-create with, that he would bring in and mentor and teach, and that it would be someone that was a quick learner. And as a result, he chose an amazingly talented woman, Kamala Harris. And when I saw Kamala the first time, it was around 2008 when Barack Obama was running. And I remember sitting with Gigi and watching her in a very, very short speech, and knowing she was the Attorney General of California, where I live. I was especially interested in her, and I said to Gigi, she will be the first female president. I remember we discussed that at great length. So I'm delighted to do her horoscope today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through her chart. I'm going to run through my own intuitive feelings about her, and basically I'm titling this the Mischievous, Lovable Brat. And the reason I'm using Brat is on TikTok, a lot of the youth have branded her as Brat. I do not know the full explanation of it, but she has got kind of a brat quality to her. Being a Gemini rising, which is kind of an impish ascendant to have, she's got a dual nature. She can be clever, witty, funny, and disarming. She can also go into the Mr. Hyde aspect and go for the jugular and lacerate her opponents with great finesse. She's like the consummate fencer, and having been an attorney general and a prosecutor, which is strong often in the charts of Gemini rising. I gotta let my dog in 1 second. Come on. You're just so pushy. Every time I tell you to go outside, you have to be inside. You go lie down, sweetie pie. So she has a sun in Libra, which at the highest level of Libra, it represents justice in its purest form. So it's not surprising that she followed a career in law. And what my guides told me about her is that she would be the president, where Joe was the president of the healer, the consummate healer. She would be the president of the rule of law, and that when she came in, she would restore the justice system. She would take away there have been a lot of sort of black marks on the justice system lately, especially the Supreme Court. And sorry for that. A lot of outside noise today. And that she would be like the one that, if you've ever watched her in a dissertation with someone where she's actually challenging them, she's got an incredible capacity to focus. But what is even her greater gift, with her Mercury in Libra in the 5th house, so it gives it very sort of dramatic, grandiose capacity to communicate. Mercury in Libra is amazingly good at debating, and not being, because it's in an air sign, it's not a fixed mind. She has a mind that's very fluid. So if she's debating one person, she can move with the current of that personality without giving up herself. She has her Mercury in Scorpio, which is in the 5th house. So she's got the sun in a close placement to Mercury, because her Libra is at the very, very end of Libra, almost a Scorpio, which gives her a bit of a Scorpio tendencies for being able to go for the jugular and to hone in on the truth and to be extraordinarily focused. The Mercury in Scorpio makes her deadly in a courtroom. Or also Mercury in Scorpio has a great ability to troubleshoot. So they can walk into situations, there could be a whole bunch of chaos surrounding them, and they can have a great capacity to pinpoint exactly what is the issue that needs to be addressed, and just sweep everything else out of the way, off the table, and go right to that point and solve it and get things back in order. She's got a tremendous capability. Mercury in Scorpio being a kind of a detective Mercury, able to find out things that are hidden and able to read people at a really deep level. So it lifts the Libra, being a cardinal air sign and more all over the board a little bit, and more affable and charming. That Mercury in Scorpio makes her a deadly prosecutor. So the terms that have come up of the prosecutor and the felon, with that Mercury in Scorpio, her chart and her Gemini rising ruling communication skills at the highest level. This is somebody that can debate anybody. You could put her literally in front of anybody, and the Mercury in Scorpio would not get out of control. It would not lose its focus. So one of her traits as a prosecutor, if you look at a prosecutor, they are when they stand in front of a jury, they're speaking to all types of people. They're not just speaking to an elite intellectual group, because the jury is made up of a potpourri of all types of people. So they first have to come out with their visionary overview of why they're prosecuting that person, what they see, what is the reason, what is their goal. So there's an overview capability there. But then she has the debating capacity to draw that person out, the skill to pull the truth out of that person. But the third thing she has, which is really great for a politician, she has a way, because she had to stand in front of those juries and sum up the whole broad expanse of a case into a summation that maybe was 15 minutes long. She has a phenomenal genius for making a case to the people of all types of people. So in other words, condensing everything down, simplifying it so it's understood by all strata of society, and then taking that out and presenting it, but not belaboring it, not getting lost in it. It's an incredible chart for what the task she has in front of her. Her moon is in the fiery sign of Aries. The moon is our emotional nature. The moon is our subconscious. The moon is our mother. So she had a mother that was a fighter, a mother that raised her children on her own as a single parent after she divorced her father, and was a fighter for her children's rights, for not letting society trample on her, a fiery woman. And Kamala has inherited that. You may not always see that fire in the same way as your mother might have showed it, but you will see that fire in her sense of passionate commitment to justice. And that moon is sitting in the house, the 11th house of the broader affairs of humanity. So it brings an Aquarius moon energy into it, which United States has its moon in Aquarius. So she has a great synergy with the United States chart in her capacity to be fiery, but also to detach herself from the drama. It's a great chart for that. Moon in Aries is very self-motivated, and it's almost like she can have a hard day the day before and pick herself up and come back into the arena of life and pick up where she left off without being defeated. It's a strong survivor's moon. It's a moon that is, I would say, sometimes Moon in Aries people do not end up having children. They end up more taking their nurturing nature, their feminine side, to a broader expanse of people. So in other words, nurturing her clients, nurturing justice itself, nurturing America, feeling a capacity to detach from too much sentimentality. This is not a sentimental woman, but in a fire moon, there's a heart there, there's a strong heart, but it's not you can't pull on her to make her feel guilty or to make her feel downcast. She's not that type of personality. With all the air, she can detach from the actions of others, and with the moon in Aries, she can just come back to herself and be single-focused on her own goals and needs. So it's pretty likely in her life that she's been able to look after herself pretty well. It's a very independent moon. So even in a marriage, there would be a passionate love with the mate, but there would also be a capacity to be on a goal-oriented pathway. So it would be obvious that she would choose a mate that would support her goals and ambitions. Her Saturn is our karmic, what is our karmic lesson in this life? What do we come here to do? Well, she's got that Saturn up in the house of justice, up in the house of the politician, in the house of leadership, and that Saturn is right at the midheaven. Very propitious, very, it signals somebody that will move high within the court systems, but that their later life, Saturn being our later life, it will be that period in her life when she will be most known, most seen by the public, and it often happens after our second Saturn return, which occurs around age 58 to 60. She has had her second Saturn return, so we don't have to worry about Saturn crippling her. She's gone through the redefinition of her second Saturn return just a year ago. So this woman is, in the last year and a half, deeply redefined herself and her goals, and that Saturn now is sitting in her 10th house of career. This is her karmic time to lead. I have no doubt she'll lead, because as I said, I saw that 4 years ago, and I also saw it with Gigi when I first saw her. I said, there's our first female president. There's no doubt. I mean, and having gone through this second Saturn return has brought her into a place of knowing, paring away what is extraneous, what is not needed, and really focused on what she wants to do. This is her time. Saturn only hits your midheaven once every 29 or 30 years. So the last time this was at her midheaven was when she was 28 or 29 years old, maybe 30. So this is her time to be in the spotlight. The 10th house is how the world sees you. To have Saturn up there after your Saturn return, this is a crowning in a way, not in the way of the queen, but in a way of the divine feminine. The Dalai Lama said the Western world will be healed and saved by women, and this is our time. So this is why we're seeing such powerful female issues on this ballot. It's kind of a reinforcement by all women to stand for what we have gained, and her philosophy of not going back. That's a very Aries moon philosophy. It's a catalytic forward movement of the female part of her soul. She is a child of an envisioning of a new future, but with all this Libra there and that Mercury and Scorpio, a profound desire to hold the rule of law. I will not be surprised to see that she gets in really kicks ass on the Supreme Court and the corruption that's been taking, that's been going on there for years, going back to Trump's immunity. I see that being rectified, changing the voting laws. I see her shifting that, looking at the Electoral College, making an effort to shift that so that it will be representation by the people rather than the outmoded electoral votes. So she's going to come in and be a mover and a shaker, and I don't expect everybody to like her all the time, because she will be a Libra is like this. They're balancing all the time. They're balancing. If the Democrats are doing something inane, she will balance that. For Republicans, which we can't even really call them Republicans right now, if they insist to continue on the path they've been on, she will also kick their derrieres right out of the room. And I do see a reorganization of the Republican Party taking place over the next 4 years, and it will be greatly youthified, and there will be more women involved, and they will take the lead of the Democrats, and they will make profound changes and MAGA is going to be sort of turning into like maggots, like the MAGA quality is just going to eat itself up within its own beingness. its own energy. And I said to someone yesterday, I go, what do you think is going on? And I said, well, don't be surprised if you see over the next 3 months a lot of rats leaving a sinking ship. That's my view of it. I could go further into a chart. I could look at this Venus conjunct Uranus conjunct Pluto, all sitting in her 4th house of the home. This is a deeply, deeply subconscious woman who probably lives amidst beauty, being a Libra, Venus-ruled child. But the thing that I really loved about her chart that I wanted to end with, I don't want to go on too long, so we'll be talking about her a few times, is her Mars in Leo in the house of communication. So I want you to think of George Carlin, if you remember him, as a comedian who would get people laughing and open people up in the most disarming, naughty way. And then he would slice in with a truth. This woman is very funny, and she knows how to say something absolutely incisive, truthful, and again, I have to say, go for the jugular with that Mercury in Scorpio. But the Mercury in Scorpio is in the house of Leo, and her Mars is in Leo. That adds a sense of humor to it. So she kind of opens people up, says something absolutely dead on and shocking, and like, oh my God, she actually said that. But she says it in such a way with a little quirky smile on her face, which is why I call her the lovable brat, because there's a bratty quality to her, that little child, that little Tom Sawyer that can get away with truisms and then give a smile and have you all laughing. And humor opens us up, and she's got that gift of opening us up, and we're finally laughing again, which I found quite astonishing. The Republican Party found that to be a fault. And then in the midst of that laughter, she delivers a truth, and you're wide open and you accept it. And that's how George Carlin got away with some pretty wild stuff. And we were all laughing at things that normally we would say, oh, that's crude, or that's over the top, or wow, where did that come from? But with him, we were just riding along with him. Kamala has got that same gift in her own way. And so you'll see her say something like even just Donald Trump's name, and then give a winsome Gemini rising smile. And the audience is just so with her. They're so laughing along with her. And then she brings out her dagger. That's her way. I think we're going to have a fascinating 4 months. And I am going to look at Election Day. It's a pretty intense day, but don't worry. It's going to be okay. All right. Thank you so much and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like a personal reading, you can contact me at angelicmercy44@gmail.com. Thank you, and God be with you. And may we all show mercy to each other. Thank you.